All right, I am so glad that we are here together to celebrate the next chapter in One America's leadership and to welcome Roxana into her new role as the executive director. This leadership transition is a true manifestation of One America's reason for being. When we invest in young immigrant leaders, particularly women of color, we create powerful futures and strong organizations. One America invests in the leadership and skills of immigrants and leaders of color to build power and work towards freedom in our community, in the nation, and within our own organization as well. One America is where I started my career in public service, just as a young college intern. I assisted in voter registration, canvassing efforts that helped thousands of new Americans register to vote. I also facilitated dialogues between policy managers, elected officials, and members of the immigrant and refugee community. One America provided me with an opportunity to grow as a professional, to flourish in community, and truly understand my purpose. It is an honor and a privilege to serve as a board member today, to give back to an organization that helped shape who I am today. When we heard the news from our executive director, Rich Stoles, that it was time to move on, we knew we had some really big shoes to fill. We also knew we had a great internal candidate in Roxana. Nonetheless, we still led an intentional, selective, and thoughtful process that involved the board, staff, transition experts, external partners, and our base of immigrant leaders. Our community had a chance to hear Roxana's vision, to weigh in, and ultimately to choose her as our next leader. As the deputy director of One America, Roxana grew its team, infrastructure, and impact. She will now lead it into the future as one of the state's most effective immigrant rights organization. This long-planned transition comes at a turning point in the US. It is more important than ever to use our resilience, our resistance, and power to change things together. I want to introduce Rich Stoles to say a few words. We know that he is a humble man, so let me brag on him just a little bit. He is one of my favorite thought partners. You can come to Rich with a problem. He will most likely do this little laugh, then he'll come up with so many solutions and ask you all the right questions to help you. Laughing is healing, and Rich is a true healer and a community builder. Over the course of a decade, Rich has transformed One America from an organization founded to fight hate and secure immigrant rights to one that is focused on building immigrant power, to shape the policies and institutions that shape their lives. His focused and steadfast leadership guided the organizations through the dark years of the Trump administration, a nationwide racial reckoning, and a global pandemic. Under Rich Stoles' leadership, One America and community partners won the passage of the Washington State Dreams Act, the Voting Rights Act, and Keep Washington Working, among a total of at least 60 other policies that have created a sea change in Washington, driving us towards being a welcoming, pro-immigrant state rooted in justice. Having grown One America in size and focus, Rich is taking a much-earned break to explore future opportunities. Of course, he will continue to be involved with One America as a volunteer and planned his transition to give space to a new leader. We'll be holding a small celebration for Rich at the end of June to thank him for his leadership. Rich, thank you for all that you've done and will do for this movement. Let us all show some love to Rich in the chat. Let's give him some clapping and heart reactions. And now I'll turn it over to Rich. And you're muted.
Well, thank you, Hamdi. I really appreciate you and all that you've done in and with the community, including your current work with the King County Office of Equity and Social Justice, your past work with Representative Jayapal's office. Your generosity, commitment, and leadership, they epitomize what OneAmerica stands for, and I am excited for your future. The first time I spent any real time with Roxana Norouzi was on a flight to Miami, Florida, back in the fall of 2012 for the National Immigrant Integration Conference. We sat next to each other on the plane, and we had a lot of time to talk. I learned about her background and her self-interest in building power in immigrant communities, but I also saw in her, even then, real potential. Inquisitive, bright, strategic, authentic, self-aware, relational, compassionate, and ambitious. I think I may have even said back then that I saw in her the potential to be a nonprofit executive someday, perhaps even the executive director of OneAmerica. Throughout her time at OneAmerica, she proved her mettle. She built out OneAmerica's education and early learning strategy, winning important victories for dual language instruction along the way. More importantly, she rooted this work in a compelling vision and narrative about the importance of truly seeing and valuing immigrant students and families. It resonated with my own experience as a son of a Korean immigrant. Roxana secured some of the largest grants in OneAmerica's history in support of building out a community-based strategy to advance equity in education and early learning. And she helped to shepherd critically important legislation just in this last legislative session that just ended, the Fair Start Act, which will significantly increase Washington State's commitment to equity and investment in childcare and early learning. That was a bill folks, including many of you on this call, that have been talking about for quite some time. And that legislation helped secure a seminal breakthrough in revenue policy in Washington State, the enactment of a capital gains tax to fund this commitment. Throughout, Roxana has remained rooted in her community, and she knows herself, her strengths, and her values. She's not afraid of poking fun at herself either, like her fangirl enthusiasm for Janet Jackson, or her ambivalence about roughing it in the outdoors. Her sense of humor will be one of the assets that will carry her through in the months and years ahead. I have tremendous confidence in Roxana. I also know how challenging it can be to turn an organization like OneAmerica and to run an organization like OneAmerica. And I know that there are additional challenges faced by women and women of color who make the decision to contest for power, to build powerful institutions, and to spark change. That's why I'm excited for this transition and why I urge all of us to invest in OneAmerica's Transition Fund. It's not enough to talk about supporting women of color. We must lean into it by collectivizing our power and by contributing financial support. We're working to raise $400,000 from foundations and donors like you to fuel this work. And we're having strategic conversations to hit that goal. I've had the privilege of guiding OneAmerica through its second decade. And later this year, we'll celebrate OneAmerica's 20th anniversary. Let's come together as a community by supporting OneAmerica in this moment of transition, and by doing all we can to ensure the success and well-being of one of our own. And Roxana, thank you for taking on this opportunity, for rising to this moment, and for leading this important organization and community into its third decade.
Thank you, Rich. That was beautiful. Please give Rich clapping reactions and comments in the chat. Thank you again. That was beautiful. Now we're going to spend some time together. We know that when we position women of color to lead, we build resilient organizations rooted in our lived experience, community, and collective power. Teaches community development. She serves on numerous boards and commissions, including the Children's Alliance and the Seattle Immigrant and Refugee Commission. Roxana drew on her own experience as an immigrant for whom speaking another language was seen as a deficit, to advance an education system that invests in the assets and strengths of bilingual and immigrant students. She built an organizing strategy focused on parents, youth, and raised millions of dollars, ultimately helping pass the Washington State's DREAMS Act and other bills that advance bilingualism and dual language programs. As deputy, she led an internal process to transform One America into a power organization. I have known Roxana for over a decade. I have always been inspired by her leadership. Roxana was one of those people who encouraged me to run for office for so many years. We both understand for the port to become more competitive in the global economy, we need diverse workforces, including diverse senior leadership members. Women of color drive economic growth. Me and Roxana both understand that. Diversity means pathways to promotion and creating a steady pipeline of leaders ready to step into their new leadership roles. One America has made those investments and is ready to do more under Roxana's leadership. Not to get too political, but there is a lot of change that is coming in our region. Roxana is unapologetic in her drive to help the immigrant community grow and lead from its own power. She sets an example by being powerful, relational, risk-taking, and vulnerable in her own role. We welcome Roxana to share her story and vision for One America. She'll also have time to take some questions from the audience. Please share any questions you have for Roxana in the chat, and our chat monitors will pick up those questions for Roxana to answer. Now, please help me in welcoming and congratulating Roxana. I'll turn it over to you now, sister.
Hamdi, thank you so much. I am just so, I think beyond anything, proud and inspired every single time I'm in your presence. What a gift it is to have you on our board and to get to build our vision for our future together. I'm so grateful. I also want to take a moment to thank you, Rich. You had me all in my feels, and remembering our journey here at One America. But I really want to thank you for investing in me from the beginning, for giving me space to lead and just believing in me and what I could do for the organization. You've done so much to grow One America, to stabilize it, to turn it into a really strong organization. And I just feel so grateful that this is the time that I'm stepping in and for everything that you've done to move us to this place. Thank you. I also want to just take a moment before I start to remember and remind all of us that we are on Native land. For One America, where our office is located, we're on Duwamish land, and we honor that land and the Duwamish and Coast Salish people who are our neighbors, friends, and family today. You'll see in the chat, I think we're going to drop a link if you want to look at which native land you live, study, work on. I encourage you to do that. So I'm going to start with sharing a little bit of my story. And my story, so much of who I am and why I'm here today is because I'm part of a long legacy of powerful, courageous women. This first photo is of my grandma, and this is her on graduation day. My grandmother was one of the first women in Iran to actually graduate with a high school diploma and center and get her education. And that has inspired me and really made me who I am. And this next photo is of my Aunt Janet, my grandmother's daughter. She was one of the first women from Iran to qualify for the Olympics, and she competed in the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo. She broke records both because she was a really fast runner, but also because she was fearless in what she believed women could do and achieve. Both Janet and my grandmother taught me so many things, but mostly that when someone tells you you can't do something or that you can't achieve your goals, use that as motivation to prove them wrong. And here on the next slide is my mom, who is here with me today. And this is me as a baby. And my mom was one of the first people in our family to leave Iran and come to the US. And in the midst of the 1979 Iranian Revolution, my parents watched as the only country they'd ever known crumbled from their living room in St. Louis. And my mom's family scattered around the world in literally 24 hours. And this is the context into which I was born. The daughter of immigrants, an Iranian, American, Jewish girl in the white suburb of Kirkland. And from a young age, I was raised to feel so proud of my identity, of being Iranian, of my language, of being bilingual, of my culture. And I carried that with me through my early childhood really strongly. But I remember going to elementary school, and within my first few days of first grade, I was called into the principal's office, and I saw my mom walk in. And they sat us down and said, Roxana's behind. She's behind in reading and writing, and because of her limited English, we don't think she can stay in her current classroom. And by the way, my English really was not that limited. My mom burst into tears. I remember that. And I remember feeling the pride I felt immediately turned to shame. And I quickly internalized these beliefs about myself. I'm small. I'm not good enough. I can't be Iranian and American at school. The cost is too high. And I held on to this shame for a while. And eventually that shame turned to anger. And then that anger turned to righteousness. And then finally I got activated. So fast forward 20 years, and I was in graduate school, and I was looking for an internship. Some of you know the story of how, now you've heard it many times, I chased Pramila down out of my graduate school classroom and begged her to let me work at OneAmerica. And this is a photo of me as an intern, probably about 12 years ago now, at a staff retreat. And this next photo is of a rally that OneAmerica held of 10,000 people on April 10th, 2009. And I remember that Pramila propositioned me to organize students on my campus. And this was the first time I built a base and I learned about organizing. And because people like Pramila and so many others, including so many of you in this room today, invested in me and saw me, even in that moment as an intern at the School of Social Work, as more powerful than I saw myself, I had a path from being a leader at OneAmerica to being on staff for almost a decade to where I am today, the executive director of OneAmerica. Joining the immigrant rights movement, I learned to take up space. I learned what I was capable of, and I learned one of the most radical acts was not internalizing what the world said about me, but instead embracing the complexities of my identity as strengths, and then sourcing that to act powerfully. Shukri, could I ask you to read this slide for us? Or should I say Dr. Olo? Could I ask you to read this slide for us?
Right before I was about to do the ugly cry, why Roxana? Hi, everybody. Shukri Olo, pronounced she, her, hers. So this is from Representative AOC, and she says, the reason women are critiqued for being too loud or too meek, too big or too small, too smart to be attractive or too attractive to be smart is to belittle women out of standing up publicly. The goal is to critique into submission, and that applies to anyone challenging power.
Thank you.
Back to you, Roxana.
So if you've ever been made to feel small, to shrink yourself, if this quote resonates with you, will you just raise your hand either virtually or physically? So as we look around this virtual room, So many of us have felt this way at some point. We've been told in words and actions to act small, to back down, to not be ourselves. And here's the thing. When these stories and when our experiences of smallness are shouldered alone, they're full of pain and trauma. But when they're brought together, like with all of us here together in this virtual room, they are units of power that together build our movements and rewrite our narratives. Each time one of us stands in our power, whether that's AOC, Pramila, my Aunt Janet, or any of you in this room that do this every single day, it opens doors for so many others of us to see ourselves in new ways. This is what we have to do for people over and over again. Moving people who have been told their whole lives that they need to act small to act powerfully. And this is what organizing, what our movement, what our collective liberation, and what One America is all about. It's about seeing people's greatness, calling them to live into that. And that is the transform in transformative organizing. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. How do we get there? First, we need to get real serious about organizing and leadership development. We've already been on this journey as an organization to really, truly transform to being a power organization. But part of my vision is that we double down on investing in our grassroots leaders through training, through deep relationship building, and also giving our grassroots leaders the real authority to drive strategy within One America. We also have huge opportunities to expand our base across Washington state, of course, in a way that is thoughtful and in partnership with people who've already been on the ground. But what if anyone who is willing to organize, cares about immigrant rights, and can put 50 people in a room has a home at One America? That is part of my vision. We also, One America occupies a really unique space in the movement because we're multiracial and we're multi-ethnic. One of the reasons why One America became my organizing home is because as an Iranian American, I felt like it was a place I belonged. I want to expand the capacity of One America to continue to grow our multiracial, multi-ethnic movement by building more leadership, more base communities in the East African, Muslim, South Asian, and many other communities, while also building really strong alliances with our Black and Native allies. Because I deeply believe in my gut and with every source of my being that none of us are free until we're all free. And we have to do this liberation work together. I also want to organize all of you. I'm coming after you, our board, our allies, our coalitions, our partners, our donors, to also see yourselves as a key part of our organization, that you're playing a meaningful role in One America, and that you're contributing your beliefs, your ideas, your money, your efforts, and your power to moving our vision. The next part of this, and something that I really want to invest deeply in, is growing our electoral power. We need to flip key seats in our state so we can win on priorities, while supporting more BIPOC, LGBTQ women like Shukri, Hamdi, Lorena, so many people from our movements who have run for office to win up and down the ballot. We need more people like us everywhere, for Olympia to the school board seats in Yakima and Tukwila. That is what makes our democracy strong. And that is how we're going to win on our progressive vision. But we also have to be clear that having access and influence is not enough. We have to have a real vision around how we co-govern with the people we train and get elected to office to move our progressive agenda together. And if we are to build our movement this way, there's so much we could win. My vision is that we'll run a campaign so that every resident of the state, regardless of immigration status, could vote in local elections. This would be groundbreaking, and I believe that we can do that here. We also will pass policies so that every child has access to bilingual education. And unlike the experiences I had, their culture, language, identity is seen as a beautiful strength instead of a weakness. Like we did this year, we need to continue to collectively advance an early education and childcare system in the state a nation that is a fundamental right and not just a limited privilege for a few. And most immediately, I believe we will, and we have an opportunity right now to win on a pathway to citizenship for the more than 11 million undocumented people in this country. And then not stop there, that we follow our vision for a just immigration system for us, by us. And finally, we'll take that one step further and establish a Department of Immigrant Integration inside of One America that will advance policies and programs that go way beyond just dignity and papers for immigrants, but push our country, state, cities, and counties to invest deeply in the integration of immigrants in the fabric of our communities. And I believe with the right power and structure, we will accomplish these things. But I would be remiss to say, and one of the things that I have learned the most in my time in leadership is that culture matters. Organizational culture matters. We can have the most beautiful strategy, but if we don't have strong organizational culture and the leader of the organization is not paying attention to the culture, we won't be able to accomplish all of these visionary goals. So some of the priorities that I have around organizational culture, one is getting really clear on racial equity. As an immigrant rights organization, we need to unpack and figure out what is our role in dismantling anti-Blackness. How do we join the struggle for Indigenous liberation? And how is all that integrated into our organizational culture, our campaign work, and the way that we operate every single day? We need to authentically center the leadership of women of color and everyone who has lived on the margins unapologetically. And I want to be clear that this is not just about putting women of color into positions and saying, okay, we did that. It's actually about centering our lived experiences, our leadership styles, our emotional intelligence, and our strength to shape the organization so that One America feels like a unique place that truly is rooted in the experiences of women of color. And we have to do that in a way that's balanced, where we take care of ourselves, we're not martyrs in the movement, and that we can actually be healthy and that we can share leadership. It's not just relying on one person. And finally, and this is so important, something I was really reminded by losing so many people from the One America community over the last few years, folks like David, Ayala, Rahwa Hapte, and then most recently and sadly, Abdullahi Jama, all who were so instrumental to my growth and leadership, is that we have to bring joy and celebration. We have to celebrate each other. We have to celebrate our wins. We have to have fun in the movement, bring our whole selves to work, dance, eat food together. And the most radical and creative parts of ourselves should be encouraged to grow and shine and integrated into what we do. And I want to build that. So now I turn to all of you and ask you to join me in this commitment to collectively build and shape One America, to give to our transition fund so we have the space and time to dream about what's possible for our movement, and to pave the way for our future generations to be free, to live in our world as it should be, and stand in their full power. If you can contribute tonight, that is deeply appreciated. If you're able to consider a generous, intentional foundation or major gift, I'd love to follow up and have those conversations. Some foundations and folks here have already supported the fund. We're so thankful for that. And I think the link is going in the chat again if you'd like to talk about bigger investments. So with that, I think that we're going to shift to questions. And I invite you to ask any questions about my vision, but also about who I am personally. And I will take those now.
And Roxana, we collected a few from the audience. And we've got a quick document with some of those questions that y'all have already so helpfully put forward.
Anila, when will I run for office? I have that same question for you. So when you answer it, I will. If you, maybe we'll run on a slate together. But I think right now I feel really committed to this role, and being in the position of being able to support incredible leaders like so many folks in this room that have taken the courage to step up and run, like Hamdi and Shukri and others, and support them from behind the scenes. But let's keep talking. Let's see, other questions. What is my vision? What will OA look like in 5 years? Great question, Ida. Thank you so much for it. So I think some of it I shared, but I'll just emphasize a couple things. One is that we will have a deep and much broader base of folks, that it's our grassroots leaders, immigrant leaders, that we will grow our base communities. Right now we have base communities in Yakima, in Skagit, in South King County, and in Clark County. But part of my vision is that we develop a distributive organizing model so that people all over the state feel a part of One America, are organizing and building power for One America, and that we're throwing down, and as a result of the strength and the leadership of our base that is truly driven by our grassroots leadership, we're winning on all the things I said, like non-citizen voting, immigration reform, deep investments in immigrant integration, in a fully bilingual system that is even co-governed by parents, and our schools are co-governed by parents. So those are some of the things that I hope that we do, but I think most importantly, and that we've elected our people from our movements, people who see One America as their political homes, into elected office, and we are just hand in hand moving our priorities with them. That it's no longer has to be that we're going and knocking on people's door and saying, can you please take a meeting with us? But we are organizing and moving our progressive priorities into different elected spaces. Okay, other questions? Oh, Rocio. Oh, okay. Charisse first. How will you see One America doing this work with your ally communities? Charisse, great question. I think that we've done some of that work, and we have a really long way to go. For me, the root of that is relationships. And I think that we need to, some of that work is me, and some of that work is our organization, and some of that work is our board and also our grassroots leaders. Like, we need to be in deep relationships with other communities, with our Black communities, with our Indigenous communities, in order to do work together. And then I think that we need to figure out how we leverage the specific strengths of One America to move platforms at the intersections of our agendas together, and be in real solidarity. And I think, Charisse, like, you've modeled and pushed the organization in so many ways through your leadership and through the ways that you've showed up with the organization and the ways that we've been able to work together. And I'm excited to keep building that with you and with so many others here in this room. Let's see, maybe one more question here. Okay, Rocio asks, how can I be like you when I grow up? And my answer is, Rocio, you already are such an incredible leader. Rocio is going to Harvard in the fall. And I'm just so proud of her as somebody from our community, from Yakima, who has been unrelentless about her journey and has taken really big risks, like filing for office as somebody, as an undocumented person, to make the point of how our election systems are so underrepresentative of our communities. So Rocio, you don't need to be like me, because you are like you, and you're amazing. And we all got your back as you're navigating this new terrain. And we'll be calling you doctor one of these days, just like Shukri. Okay, so I think with that, our time's up. I'm gonna pass things back to Hamdi. Thank you everyone so much for being here. I'm so humbled. Your support means so much, and hope to continue to be in conversation. Give you all hugs in person one day soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxana. We are so excited for you. You are truly a force to be reckoned with, and I know everyone here agrees with me. We know that this movement isn't built by just one person. It represents all of our hopes and dreams, and most importantly, our action and hard work. We are going to do just a little exercise where we want to hear from all of you. We're going to share a link in the chat, and we want you to answer the question. And the question is, what is one word that represents your hope for the future of One America and the immigrant rights movement? We'll also share this question in the chat. So you should also remember that there is no one right answer. You can answer the question and post any word that represents your hope for the future of One America and the immigrants' rights movement. While we have a moment for you guys to think and put down your answers, we're going to share a video. Some of you may have seen the outpour of support from women of color who've organized with Roxana, elected officials, staff, leaders, and from the movement. And we're going to play that video now.
Congratulations, Roxana. You deserve it. Women of color deserve to be in leadership positions. Thank you, Roxana. You made my wings stronger. You taught me how to advocate. You taught me how to talk and speak up, to defend my children and other children's rights. I know that you in One America will continue growing more leaders. Thank you so much. You deserve what you have right now. And I know that One America is in good hands. Thank you, Roxana.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, and I'm so proud to represent Washington's 7th Congressional District. As someone who came to America alone at the age of 16, I'm also proud to be one of only 24 immigrants serving in the U.S. Congress today. As many of you know, long before I got to Congress or even ran for political office, it was my distinct honor to found One America and to help grow it into the largest immigrant rights organization in our state. Today, I am so encouraged and excited for the future of One America as Roxana Norouzi steps into the role of Executive Director. Women of color belong in every room where important decisions are being made. And I'm thrilled that One America is recognizing that by following Roxana's lead in this new role that she truly deserves. Now, I have a little story to tell you about Roxana. I met her when she was actually a social work student getting her master's in social work. And she came running after me because she really wanted to work at One America as a social work fellow. But at that time, One America wasn't actually taking interns, social work interns at the organization, and I told her that. But I learned something about Roxana that day, which is when Roxana believes in something, she will never accept no for an answer. She came back over and over again to me with every concern I had to make sure that she could actually come and work at this organization that she believes so deeply in. So this is somebody who knows what One America is about, who has a vision for what One America can be, and who knows how to get to yes, no matter what it is. So it is really an honor to see Roxana elevated into this position, and I can't wait to see all the incredible organizing work that One America is going to do in the days, months, and years ahead. You know that One America has always been in my heart and always will be.
Roxana, congratulations on being the new Executive Director for One America. I know this is a very important time to have you as our leader. And here in Southwest Washington, we are more than happy to know that you are our new Executive Director. I'm also very happy because this is a very important move. We need more people of color, more women of color in positions of power, positions of leadership. And I know you, and I know that your leadership has been outstanding. We love you here in Southwest Washington, Clark County, and we are just beyond happy. Thank you.
Friends, I hope you are as excited as I am to hear the news that Roxana Norouzi is our new Executive Director for One America. Our organization and our movement is going to be well served by her vision, her leadership, and her ability to bring us all together. Now is the time for women of color to lead. Now is the time for this next change. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming Roxana to this new and important role.
Congratulations, Roxana, for becoming our new Executive Director of One America. I'm really excited for you to lead our organization because I know that you will be leading our organization that forms genuine and transformational relationships, and relationships that will generate real policy changes for our community. And I know that women of color like myself, when we see people like Roxana, powerful women of color who are unapologetically owning it and have a clear vision, we know that we will also be able to take up space and lead too. So thank you so much for your leadership. Congratulations. And I'm excited to build with you. Love you.
Congratulations, Roxana, on your new journey as the Executive Director of One America. The movement is blessed to have you lead us in our fight for comprehensive immigration reform. We are honored to have someone with your incredible leadership, tenacity, and vigilance. Thank you for standing with me as a movement sister, a mentor, and a badass woman of color in leadership. Congrats!
Wow, that was beautiful. I enjoyed every bit of it, from Congresswoman Jayapal to Yvette's wine cup. That was amazing. Let's look at what everyone has come up with. I think the words should show up on the screen any minute. All right. I love seeing this. This represents our shared vision for One America, for the immigrant rights movement. This speaks to me: solidarity, power, leadership, justice, joy, powerful coalition, unity, organizing, immigrant vote, fearless, intersectional, love, love. These are all powerful words. Thank you all for sharing them. I know we can achieve this together if we work hard at it and if we are willing to invest. I've invested in One America, and One America undoubtedly has invested in me. If you are willing to invest in One America, or if One America has done the same for you, I ask that you donate. Donate to our transition fund now to help make this vision a reality. We are sharing that link in the chat for you to be able to make a contribution tonight, and we thank you for it. We're at the end of our program. Thank you all. God bless you all. Jazakallah khair. Our event is coming to an end. We're going to play you out with some music, and you can continue to donate as we do that. But thank you all. This has been so powerful. I'm inspired. I'm ready for Roxana. Thank you, Rich, for everything that you've done. The One America family, we love you all.
I do my hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Woo, child, tired of the bullshit. Gone, dust your shoulders off. Keep it moving, yes, Lord. Trying to get some new shit in there. Swimwear, going to the pool shit. Come